So, cybersecurity, it's a pretty big deal these days, huh? Especially if you're running a business, right? I mean, you need to know how to keep things safe in this digital world.
Yeah, for sure. More than ever, actually. When you think about it, everything runs on tech now. Businesses, finances, even health records, and critical infrastructure. It's all technology, and with that comes the threat of cyber attacks.
Right. And those threats are evolving all the time, aren't they? Getting more complex.
Absolutely. To really get it, it kind of helps to look back, see how we got here.
Okay, so like what? Walk me through it.
Well, we've seen threats evolve from simple stuff, relatively simple. Like, you
Mm.
remember that Conficker worm back in 2009? Millions of computers affected.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Big deal at the time.
It was. It was like a wake-up call.
Okay.
Showed us just how vulnerable systems could be. But since then, things have gotten, well, a lot more complicated. Like, when everyone shifted to remote work during the pandemic, obviously necessary, but created a whole new set of vulnerabilities. And cybercriminals, they were all over that.
So it's not just viruses and things like that anymore. What are businesses up against these days?
Oh, it's a whole different landscape. One major category is malware, including ransomware.
Yep.
Encrypts your data, holds it hostage. You got to pay a ransom to get it back.
Well,
Digital extortion, basically.
yikes.
Then you have those DDoS attacks, distributed denial of service. They flood systems with traffic, make them inaccessible. And then, of course, you've got good old phishing attacks. Still incredibly common.
Yeah, tell me about it. I feel like I get a phishing email every day.
Right. It's tough to keep up. They use those deceptive emails or websites, to try to steal sensitive information.
Tricky.
And then, and this is one people often forget about, insider threats.
Oh, yeah. The people on the inside.
Right. Individuals within an organization, they misuse their access for bad stuff.
Kind of a chilling thought.
It is. It is. Makes you wonder who you can trust.
So with all these evolving threats, what's the state of the art in cybersecurity right now? How are we fighting back?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Now we're talking artificial intelligence, machine learning. This is revolutionizing cybersecurity.
Okay, so what does that even mean? Like, what are we talking about here?
Imagine a security system that's constantly learning, adapting to new attacks in real time.
Okay, but how?
There are a few key ways AI is being used. One example is anomaly detection. AI systems learn normal patterns of behavior. Anything that deviates from that, they flag it. Helps catch those new unknown attacks.
So it's like having this super smart security guard constantly watching, looking for anything suspicious.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So what else? What other ways is AI being used?
Well, another big one is building these powerful machine learning models. They can predict and classify threats with super high accuracy.
Wow.
They analyze tons of data, spot patterns that humans might miss. Algorithms like random forest, support vector machines, logistic regression. They're all about identifying threats before they can do damage.
That's pretty impressive stuff. So are there like different levels of complexity when it comes to these AI systems? Like, can they handle really sophisticated attacks too?
For sure they can. When you're talking really complex threats, then you're looking at deep learning models. These are they're neural networks, but way more advanced.
Okay, how so?
Well, they can analyze these super complex data patterns, stuff like convolutional neural networks, CNNs, recurrent neural networks, RNNs.
Yeah.
They're really good at analyzing images, sequences. That's key for things like, spotting malware in files or weird activity in network traffic.
So it's like a whole team of digital detectives working around the clock to protect systems.
Exactly.
Okay, but this all sounds very, I don't know, theoretical. Can you give me some real-world examples? Like, how is this stuff actually being used?
Oh, absolutely. It's being applied all over the place. Take banks, for example.
Okay.
They use AI to detect fraud, fraudulent transactions in real time.
That makes sense.
It protects their customers and their own systems, too.
Right. So what about healthcare? I mean, protecting patient records is obviously huge.
Huge. And yeah, healthcare providers are totally using AI now, securing medical devices, protecting patient data from breaches.
That's got to be a big step forward.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is. So, yeah, it sounds like AI is really making a difference in all these different industries.
It does.
Yeah.
But it's not perfect, right? I mean, there have to be some limitations.
Yeah, of course. No system is foolproof. One challenge is these adversarial attacks.
Adversarial attacks.
Basically, cyber criminals, they're trying to trick the AI systems, manipulating the data they use to learn.
So, like, they're using AI to fight the good AI.
Yeah, kind of like that.
What else? What other challenges are there?
Another big one is data dependency. I mean, AI models are only as good as the data they learn from, right?
Hmm.
So if the data is limited or biased even, it can lead to mistakes, inaccuracies.
That makes sense.
And then there's this issue of interpretability. Sometimes with these complex systems, it's tough to understand how they reached a decision.
So it flags a threat, but you don't know why.
Exactly. And then you can't really trust its judgment fully, right?
Right.
And then the last thing, we always got to remember, the world of cyber attacks, it's constantly changing. So these AI models, they got to keep adapting just to keep pace.
It's like a chess game, always trying to stay a few moves ahead.
That's a good analogy.
But all this talk about AI, sophisticated attacks, it can be overwhelming. What can businesses or even just individuals do right now to improve their cybersecurity?
Well, there are some steps you can take, like immediately, to boost your security. Like, number one, use multi-factor authentication wherever you can.
Multi-factor authentication. Isn't that like you get a code sent to your phone or email?
Yeah, exactly. It's a simple step, but it adds this extra layer of security. Makes it way harder for attackers to get in.
Okay, that's good to know. What else?
Be really careful about links you click, attachments you open, especially in emails.
Yeah, because phishing is getting more sophisticated all the time.
Exactly. Always verify the sender. Before you click anything, open anything, especially if it looks even a little suspicious.
Okay, so multi-factor authentication. Be careful with emails. What else?
Keep your software up to date.
Oh yeah, the updates.
Those updates, they often have security patches. They fix known vulnerabilities. So install them right away, as soon as you can. And of course, use strong passwords.
Yeah, everyone says that.
I know, but it's important. Unique passwords for all your accounts. And if you can, use a password manager. Helps you keep track of them securely.
So multi-factor authentication, vigilance with emails, software updates, strong passwords. That's a good starting point.
It is. It is. And remember, cybersecurity isn't just this one-time thing you do. It's a process. You always got to be adapting, staying vigilant.
Right, because the threats are always changing.
Exactly. So regularly review your security controls, update policies, stay informed. New threats are always emerging.
So it's really about staying ahead of the curve.
Absolutely.
It's not just about checking boxes, it's more about having a security mindset.
Yeah, it's a culture.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot. AI, sophisticated attacks. But what about the future? I mean, we've talked about AI for defense, but could cyber criminals use it to launch even more advanced attacks?
That's a good question. And unfortunately, it's already happening.
So it's like an AI arms race.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Cybercriminals are using AI to, automate their attacks, develop new types of malware, even bypass those traditional security controls we were talking about.
It's a cat and mouse game, I guess.
It is, always trying to outsmart each other.
So can you give me some examples? Like, how are they using AI right now?
Sure. Well, one thing they're doing is using AI to create these phishing emails that are like really convincing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're harder to spot. And then there's the malware. They're using AI to develop malware that actually adapts to its environment
So it's harder to detect.
and remove.
Exactly. And then you've got these AI-powered botnets.
Botnets.
Yeah, networks of compromised computers. They can use them to launch these huge attacks. So it's like they're using AI to amplify their attacks, make them faster, more powerful.
Exactly.
Okay, so then how do we stay ahead?
That's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, that's why research and development and, defensive AI, it's so important.
Okay.
We have to innovate, develop even more sophisticated AI-powered security solutions. We got to keep pace with the attackers.
It's a never-ending battle, huh?
It is. It is.
Well, it's a lot to think about. It can feel kind of overwhelming, to be honest. What can individuals, businesses, what can they do right now to protect themselves?
There are some really basic things that can make a big difference. Like, first of all, multi-factor authentication. Use it whenever you can.
Right, we talked about that.
It's simple, but it's effective. Next, be really careful about what you click on. Links, attachments, especially in emails.
Right, because those phishing attacks are getting so good.
They are. So always verify the sender. Anything looks suspicious, don't click it.
Okay, good advice.
Keep your software up to date, too.
Oh, yeah, the updates.
Yeah, they usually have security patches that fix vulnerabilities, so don't put them off. And strong passwords, of course.
Of course.
I know it's basic, but it's important. Unique passwords for every single account, and if you can, use a password manager.
Okay, so multi-factor authentication, careful clicking, updates, passwords,
It's a good start.
and a good reminder.
And remember, cybersecurity, it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. You've
You're
got to
right.
stay informed, be aware of the threats.
Adapt.
Exactly. So, review your security controls, update your policies, keep learning. New threats are always popping up.
Be vigilant.
Yes.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground. The evaluation of these cyber threats, AI for both attack and defense, practical steps to stay safe. I feel like our listeners have a much better understanding of cybersecurity now.
I hope so. It's an important topic.
It really is. Well, thanks for joining me today for this deep dive into the world of cybersecurity.
My pleasure.
To all our listeners out there, stay safe.